Jake Collins walked through the bright halls of Nexus Prime Station. His black shoes made soft sounds on the metal floor. Behind him, two other humans followed quietly. Dr. Lisa Warren carried a small data pad in her hands. She was writing notes about the alien species they would meet today. Commander Ryan Bell walked last. His uniform was neat and clean. He never said much during these meetings. The three humans were Earth's voice in the Galactic Council. They had been doing this job for 3 years now. 3 long years of listening to aliens who thought humans were weak and stupid. 3 years of smiling and nodding while being treated like children. Today was another trade meeting. The aliens would decide who could sell what and where. They would talk about mining rights on distant planets. They would make rules about which ships could use which space routes. And like always, humans would get the worst deals. Jake stopped at a large door. It was made of some blue metal that shined like water. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a huge round room. The ceiling was so high that Jake had to tilt his head back to see the top. Strange lights hung from above, casting colors that human eyes had trouble seeing. The other species were already there. Jake could smell them before he saw them. Each alien race had its own scent. Some were sweet like flowers. Others smelled like old fish or hot metal. High Commander Zethkri sat at the biggest chair. He was from the Veltar Empire. His body looked like a large lizard that could walk on 2 legs. His skin was covered in green and gold scales. When he moved, the scales caught the light and sparkled. He was talking to another Veltar in their hissing language. Jake had learned enough of their words to know they were making jokes about humans. Near the far wall sat the hive mind speaker. Its name was something like Klest, but humans could not say it right. It looked like a giant ant that someone had stretched to be 7 feet tall. Its forearms moved in quick patterns while it talked to itself. The hive mind was really thousands of bug-like creatures that shared one brain. This speaker was just one body that used to talk to other species. The Depth Lords had sent Prime-Tide Keshara. She sat in a special tank filled with water. Her body was long and slim like a fish, but she had arms and could speak. The water in her tank was dark blue and smelled like the ocean. She watched everyone with large black eyes that never seemed to blink. There were others too. Small furry creatures that looked like cats but had 6 legs. Tall thin beings made of what looked like living crystal. Flying things with wings like butterflies but brains like computers. All of them were older species. All of them had been in space for thousands of years. All of them looked at humans like pets that had learned a cute trick. Jake walked to the human seats. They were smaller than the others and placed at the back of the room. Lisa sat down and opened her data pad. She started typing notes about who was here and what they were wearing. Ryan stood behind them both. He never sat during meetings. He said it helped him watch everyone better. High Commander Zethkri raised one clawed hand. The room became quiet. "We gather again to discuss trade matters," he said. His voice was deep and rough. "The Veltar Empire wishes to address the mining rights on Kepler 186F first." Jake knew what this meant. The Veltar had found something valuable on that planet. They wanted to make sure no one else could get to it, especially not humans. "Our surveys show rich deposits of rare metals," Zethkri continued. "The Empire claims these resources for the good of all council members." The hive mind speaker made clicking sounds. "The collective agrees. Veltar mining operations are most efficient. Humans lack proper equipment for such work." Jake felt his jaw muscles tighten. Kepler 186F was only 12 light-years from Earth. Human ships have been the first to map that system. But the aliens always found reasons why humans could not claim anything. Prime-Tide Keshara spoke from her tank. Her voice sounded like water flowing over rocks. "The Depth Lords support this decision. Human technology is too primitive for deep space mining." More aliens nodded and made sounds of agreement. Jake looked around the room. Every species was united in one thing. They all believed humans were weak and harmless. The meeting went on for hours. Every time humans tried to speak, someone interrupted them. Every time they made a suggestion, the aliens found reasons why it would not work. By the end of the day, humans had agreed to smaller trade quotas, worse shipping routes, and no mining rights at all. Jake signed the papers with a smile. He thanked everyone for their time. He promised that Earth would honor all the agreements. Lisa packed up her notes without complaining. Ryan followed them out without saying a word. As they walked toward the door, Jake heard Zethkri talking to his aide. The Veltar commander thought he was speaking quietly, but Jake had good ears. "The pet species amuses me," Zethkri hissed. "They try so hard to be like real civilizations. Their innocence is almost charming." Jake's steps slowed just a little. Lisa noticed and put her hand on his arm. She gave him a look that said to keep walking. Behind him, Ryan's eyes moved across the room, watching every alien face. They left the meeting room in silence. The bright halls of Nexus Prime felt colder now. Other aliens they passed in the corridors looked at them with the same expression. Amusement, pity, the look adults give to children playing dress-up. Jake had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years. 3 years of eating insults with every meal. 3 years of watching his people get pushed around by species that thought humans were nothing more than clever animals. But Jake Collins had a secret. So did Lisa Warren and Ryan Bell. So did every human who worked in space. They all shared the same secret, and they had been very careful to keep it hidden. The aliens thought they knew everything about humans. They had studied Earth's history, its wars, its technology. They had decided that humans were a young species that needed guidance and protection. They were wrong about many things. But their biggest mistake was thinking that being polite meant being weak. Soon, very soon, they would learn the difference. Jake smiled as they walked back to their ship. It was not his diplomatic smile this time. It was something else entirely. 3 weeks passed after the trade meeting. Jake Collins was in his office on Earth, reading reports from human colonies. The reports were good news. New farms were growing food on distant worlds. Mining operations were finding useful metals. Human ships were exploring systems that the aliens had never seen. But Jake knew the aliens did not care about human success. They still saw humans as children playing with toys too big for them. The communication device on Jake's desk started flashing red. Red meant emergency. Jake pressed the button and a hologram appeared in the air. It showed the seal of the Galactic Council. "Emergency session called," said a computer voice. "All council members must attend immediately." Jake called Lisa and Ryan. Within an hour, they were on a fast ship heading to Nexus Prime. The journey took 6 hours. During the trip, they tried to guess what the emergency could be. Pirates had been more active lately. Some trade ships had gone missing. But nothing seemed big enough for an emergency council meeting. When they arrived at Nexus Prime, the station was buzzing with activity. Alien ships were coming and going. Security guards were everywhere. Something serious had happened. The council meeting room was full when the humans arrived. All the major species were there. High Commander Zethkri looked angry. His scales were darker than usual, which meant he was upset. The hive mind speaker was making rapid clicking sounds. Primetide Keshara was swimming in circles in her tank. Jake took his seat at the back of the room. Lisa opened her datapad. Ryan stood behind them, watching everyone as always. Zethkri stood up to speak. "We have received terrible news from the Kepler Mining Consortium. The facility on Kepler 442b has been attacked. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a planet with red dirt and gray mountains. Jake had been to Kepler 442b once. It was not a pretty world, but it was rich in rare metals that all species needed. The attackers call themselves the Crimson Fleet, Zethkri continued. They are pirates. They have taken hostages from all our species. They demand payment of 1 million credits for each hostage. The hologram changed to show the mining facility. It was built into a deep canyon between two mountains. The buildings looked like metal boxes connected by tubes. Jake could see scorch marks on the walls where weapons had hit. "How many hostages?" asked one of the crystal beings. 47 total, Zethkri replied, including representatives from every council species. The pirates say they will start killing hostages in 5 days if we do not pay. The room erupted in angry voices. Every alien was talking at once. Some wanted to send warships. Others wanted to negotiate. A few suggested paying the ransom and hunting the pirates later. Jake listened to them argue. They were scared. These were species that ruled whole sections of the galaxy, but a small group of pirates had made them panic. The hive mind speaker raised all 4 arms for silence. The collective suggests economic pressure. We can freeze their accounts, stop their supplies, force them to surrender. That will take months, growled Zethkri. The hostages will be dead by then. Primetide Keshara spoke from her tank. My people recommend careful negotiation. Perhaps we can reduce the ransom amount. More arguments broke out. Jake watched the aliens shout at each other. After 2 hours, they made no progress. They were too afraid to fight and too proud to pay. Finally, Zethkri looked toward the human section. Ambassador Collins, your species has been quiet. What does Earth suggest? Jake stood up slowly. He had been thinking during the whole meeting. The aliens expected him to suggest something safe and harmless. They expected humans to avoid any real action. We believe in exploring all peaceful options first, Jake said in his usual diplomatic voice. The aliens nodded. This was exactly what they expected to hear. But then Ryan leaned forward and whispered something in Jake's ear. Jake's expression changed slightly. For just a moment, something cold flickered in his eyes. Actually, Jake continued, his voice still calm and polite, we would like to propose a different approach. But first, I need to ask you something important. The room became quiet. Even the hive mind stopped clicking. How much do you value the lives of your people on Kepler 442b? Jake asked. The question hung in the air like a storm cloud. The aliens looked at each other with confusion. This was not the kind of thing the polite human ambassador usually said. Zethkri's scales rippled with annoyance. Of course, we value their lives. That is why we are discussing how to save them. Good, Jake said. Because we have been studying this situation since the news arrived. Lisa, would you show them what we found? Lisa touched her datapad. A new hologram appeared. It showed detailed maps of the pirate base. The images were so clear that everyone could see individual guards walking around. We have been monitoring the pirates' communications, Lisa said. Her voice was still gentle, but there was something new in it, something sharp. They are not planning to negotiate. They intend to kill all the hostages in 36 hours, regardless of any payment. The aliens stared at the detailed intelligence. None of their own spy networks had information this good. Impossible, hissed Zethkri. Where did you get this data? Ryan finally spoke. His voice was quiet but carried the kind of authority that made people listen. The human vessel Vigilant has been conducting routine surveys in the Kepler system for the past month. Pure coincidence, of course. Jake's smile never wavered, but his eyes had gone completely cold. The thing is, we have been very patient. For 3 years, we've accepted your jokes about us. We have smiled when you treat us like children. We have taken the worst deals in every negotiation. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. The aliens were starting to realize that something was very different about the humans today. But here's something you should know about our species, Jake continued. We do not negotiate with terrorists. We do not abandon our people. And we certainly do not leave our allies to die while we argue about money. Zeth-Kree's scales were now flashing between green and black, a sign of extreme agitation. You cannot take unilateral action. The Council must vote on any military response. Jake's diplomatic mask was slipping away piece by piece. For 3 years, he had been the perfect ambassador, polite, patient, accommodating. But now, for the first time, the aliens were seeing the real Jake Collins. Commander Bell, Jake said without taking his eyes off Zeth-Kree, please show them the current status of our operation. The hologram changed again. Now it showed the pirate base in real time, but something was different. There were new shapes, moving in the shadows around the facility, shapes that had not been there before. The rescue operation began 4 hours ago, Ryan said matter-of-factly. The council chamber exploded in outrage. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens were shouting in dozens of different languages. Zeth-Kree slammed his clawed fist on his desk, making a sound like breaking glass. The hive mind speaker was clicking so fast it sounded like a machine gun. Prime-Tide Keshara was thrashing in her water tank, sending waves splashing over the sides. You had no right. Zeth-Kree roared. His scales were now completely black with rage. The Council decides military action, not individual species. Jake Collins remained standing. His hands were folded behind his back. His face was calm, but his eyes were like ice. Sit down, Commander, he said quietly. The simple command cut through all the noise. Something in Jake's voice made every alien in the room stop shouting. They had never heard the human ambassador speak like this before. You want to know what we found? Jake continued. Lisa, show them everything. Lisa touched her datapad again. The hologram changed to show intercepted messages between the pirates. The text was in multiple alien languages, but computer translations appeared beside each message. The pirates never intended to negotiate, Lisa said. Her voice was steady and professional. They planned to kill all hostages regardless of payment. They wanted to send a message to the Council about how weak you are. The aliens read the messages in shocked silence. The pirates had been laughing about how scared the Council members were. They had joked about how easy it would be to attack other Council facilities. This is impossible, whispered one of the crystal beings. Our intelligence networks found nothing like this. Ryan Bell stepped forward. Your intelligence networks are children playing with toys compared to what humans can do. More holograms appeared. They showed the pirates' base from angles that should have been impossible to see. The images were so detailed that the aliens could read the serial numbers on weapons and see the expressions on individual pirates' faces. How long have you been watching them? Asked Prime-Tide Keshara. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Since the second day after they took the base, Ryan replied. We've been monitoring every communication, every movement, every breath they take. Zeth-Kree's scales were shifting from black to dark purple. You lie. Humans do not have this technology. Jake's smile was cold and sharp. We have whatever technology we need, Commander. The question is why you never bothered to find out what that was. The hologram changed again. Now it showed the rescue operation in progress. Human soldiers were moving through the pirate base like ghosts. They wore suits that seemed to bend light around them, making them nearly invisible. Their weapons made no sound when they fired. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the humans moved through the facility. They did not charge, and like savage warriors. They did not blast through walls like the Veltar military. Instead, they flowed like water, finding paths that seemed impossible. Your intelligence was wrong about many things, Lisa said. She was still typing on her datapad, but now she was recording the aliens' reactions. You thought humans were weak because we avoided fights. You thought we were stupid because we accepted bad deals. You thought we were harmless because we smiled and said, please and thank you. One of the human soldiers on the hologram raised his hand. The other soldiers stopped moving instantly. They had found the first group of hostages. You never asked the right questions, Jake said. You never wondered how a species that fought wars for thousands of years could suddenly become so peaceful. You never questioned why we were so eager to join your council. You never thought about what we might be learning while we sat in the back of your meetings. The human soldiers on the screen were freeing hostages. They moved with perfect coordination, like they shared one mind. But unlike the hive mind, each human soldier was thinking independently, making decisions based on what they saw. Impossible, clicked the hive mind speaker. No species can coordinate like that without a shared consciousness. Humans can, Ryan said simply. We call it training. More pirates appeared on the screen, but they never saw the humans coming. One moment they were guarding prisoners. The next moment they were unconscious on the floor. The human weapons left no marks, made no noise, caused no permanent damage. Zethkri was staring at the hologram with his mouth open. What kind of weapons are those? The kind that solve problems without creating new ones, Jake replied. We could have used weapons that would have turned your pirates into ash. We could have used weapons that would have melted their base into slag. But we are not monsters, Commander. We are just very, very good at what we do. The rescue operation was nearly complete. The humans had freed 38 hostages without raising any alarms. The pirates still had no idea their base was being invaded. This is not possible, Primetide Keshara said. Our sensors show no human ships in the Kepler system. Lisa looked up from her datapad. Your sensors see what we want them to see. The hologram zoomed out to show the space around Kepler 442b. At first, it looked empty. Then the image shifted, showing different sensor readings. Suddenly, there were 3 human ships hanging in space like predators watching their prey. The Vigilant, the Defender, and the Phoenix, Ryan said. They have been there for weeks, waiting for orders. Stealth technology, whispered one of the crystal beings. But the equations say such technology is impossible. Your equations are wrong, Jake said. You have been living in a small part of the galaxy for so long that you forgot there might be bigger things out there. The last group of hostages was being freed. The human soldiers had cleared the entire facility without killing a single pirate. Every enemy was unconscious, every prisoner was safe, and the pirates' weapons were disabled. Operation complete, came a voice from the hologram. It was Captain Lisa Martinez, commander of the Vigilant. All hostages secured. 0 casualties on either side. Awaiting extraction orders. The council chamber was dead silent. 47 aliens had been watching the most precise military operation any of them had ever seen. It had taken less than 3 hours from start to finish. Jake Collins adjusted his tie and sat back down. The hostages will be returned to their respective species within 48 hours. Standard diplomatic protocols will be followed. Zethkri's voice was barely a whisper. How long have you been capable of this? Since before we joined your council, Jake replied. The real question is why you never tried to find out. The aliens were looking at each other with new understanding. For 3 years, they had been dealing with humanity's diplomatic corps. They had seen the polite ambassadors, the patient negotiators, the humble representatives of a young species. They had never seen the warriors. But why? Asked Prime-Tide Keshara. Why hide your true strength? Jake's expression softened slightly. For a moment, he looked like the diplomat they remembered. Because we hoped we would never need to show it. We came to the stars looking for friends, not enemies. We wanted to build something better than what we left behind on Earth. He stood up again, and this time, every alien in the room could see him clearly. Not as a harmless representative from a backward world, but as what he truly was. A leader whose species had been watching and learning and preparing for 3 years. But friendship requires respect, Jake continued. And respect requires understanding. Today, you began to understand what humans are capable of when we stop being polite. The hologram showed the pirates waking up in restraints aboard the human ships. They looked confused and scared. They had been the most feared criminals in the sector, and they had been defeated without firing a single shot. What happens now? Asked the Zethkri. Jake smiled. It was not his diplomatic smile. It was something altogether different. Now, he said, we renegotiate. The word renegotiate hung in the air like a storm about to break. The aliens in the council chamber looked at each other with growing fear. They were beginning to understand that everything they knew about humans was wrong. Zethkri tried to regain control of the situation. He stood up, his scales slowly shifting back to their normal green color. You cannot simply demand new terms, he said, trying to sound commanding. The council has procedures. There are laws. Jake Collins turned to look at the Veltar commander. His eyes were still cold, but now there was something else in them. Amusement. Whose laws? Jake asked quietly. The laws you wrote to keep younger species in their place? The laws that give you the best mining rights while we get scraps? The laws that let you insult us in our own language because you think we are too stupid to understand. Zethkri's scales began to darken again. You agreed to those terms. No one forced you to sign. We signed them because we were studying. You, Lisa Warren said. She was still typing on her datapad, but her voice had lost all its gentleness. We needed to understand how you think, how you operate, what you value. We needed to see if you were worth saving. The crystal being made. A sound like wind chimes in a storm. Saving? Saving from what? Ryan Bell activated another hologram. This one showed a star map of the galaxy. It looked normal at first, but then red dots began appearing across the display. There were hundreds of them. Pirate bases, Ryan said. Criminal organizations, slave traders, weapon smugglers. They have been growing stronger, while you have been sitting in your comfortable council chambers making trade deals. More red dots appeared, then more. Soon the entire galaxy map was covered with threats that the council had either ignored or failed to detect. The Crimson Fleet was not alone, Jake said. They were part of a network that has been watching the council for years, learning your weaknesses, preparing for something big. Prime-Tide Keshara was swimming in tight circles in our tank. Our intelligence services monitor all known criminal activity. Your intelligence services. Our jokes, Ryan replied. You know about the criminals who want you to know about them. The real threats have been invisible to you. The hologram changed to show intercepted communications between various criminal groups. The messages were discussing council weaknesses, planned attacks, and something called the Great Harvest. What is the Great Harvest? Whispered the hive mind speaker. A coordinated attack on all major council worlds, Lisa answered. Scheduled for next month. The pirates were going to use the ransom money from Kepler 442b to buy weapons for the assault. The aliens were reading the messages with growing horror. The criminal network was massive, well organized, and had been planning to destroy the council entirely. Why did you not tell us about this before? Demanded Zethkri. Because 3 weeks ago, we were not sure you were worth saving, Jake replied. You have spent 3 years treating us like pets. You have made it clear that you consider us inferior. In every way. Why would we risk human lives to protect people who despise us? The room fell silent. The aliens were finally understanding the full scope of their mistake. They had not just underestimated humanity's abilities. They had driven away the one species that could save them. But the hostage situation changed things, Jake continued. You had people in danger, and despite everything, we could not let innocent beings die. So we acted. And in acting, we showed you what we are truly capable of. The hologram changed again. Now it showed dozens of human ships moving through space. They were sleek and fast, nothing like the clumsy vessels the aliens had seen before. Each ship was equipped with weapons and defenses that made Council technology look primitive. How many ships do you have? Asked one of the crystal beings. Enough, Ryan answered. But that is not the important question. The important question is what we are going to do about the criminals who want to destroy everything you have built. Jake walked to the center of the room. For the first time in 3 years, he was not standing in the back like a junior member. He was taking his place as an equal. We have a choice to make, he said. All of us. We can continue the old way, with you treating us as inferior and us pretending to accept it. Or we can try something new. What do you propose? Asked Prime-Tide Keshara. Partnership, Jake said. Real partnership. Not the fake relationship we have had for 3 years, but actual cooperation between equals. Zethkri made a sound that might have been laughter. You think you can dictate terms to the Council? Jake smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Commander, 3 hours ago your people were going to die. Our people saved them. Right now, criminal fleets are preparing to attack your worlds. Our ships are the only things standing between you and destruction. So yes, I think we have earned the right to suggest new terms. The hologram showed the criminal fleet positions. They were already moving toward Council space. The attack would begin in less than a month. We could handle this ourselves, Zethkri said, but his voice lacked conviction. Could you? Lisa asked. Your best military response would take weeks to organize. The criminals will be at your homeworlds in 26 days. Your defense fleets use weapons that are centuries old compared to what the criminals have stolen or bought. More data appeared on the hologram. It showed detailed analysis of Council military capabilities compared to the criminal fleets. Their numbers were not good for the Council. We will fight, declared the hive mind speaker. The collective does not surrender. Fighting and winning are different things, Ryan said. You would lose. Your people would die. Your worlds would burn. And for what? Pride? Jake raised his hand for silence. We are not here to threaten you. We are here to offer you a choice. Work with us as equals, and we will help you survive what is coming. Continue to treat us as inferiors, and you will face the criminals alone. The aliens looked at each other. They were trapped between their pride and their survival. For thousands of years, they had been the dominant powers in the galaxy. Now they were being told that their survival depended on a species they had considered barely civilized. What would this partnership look like? Asked Prime-Tide Keshara. First, we renegotiate all existing trade agreements, Jake said. Fair. Terms for everyone, based on actual capabilities rather than prejudice. Second, we establish joint military commands to deal with the criminal threat. Third, we create new Council procedures that treat all species as equals. And if we refuse? Asked Zethkri. Jake's expression did not change. Then we withdraw from the Council. We take our ships and our technology, and we go home. You can face the criminals with your own resources. The threat was clear. Without human help, the Council would fall to the criminal fleets. But accepting human help meant admitting that they had been wrong about everything. "You would abandon the galaxy to criminals?" asked one of the crystal beings. "We would protect our own people," Jake replied. "Just like you have always done. The difference is that we actually can." The hologram showed the criminal fleets getting closer to Council space. Time was running out. Zethkri looked around the room at his fellow Council members. He could see the fear in their eyes. They had run out of options. "What guarantee do we have that you will not betray us once the criminals are defeated?" he asked. Jake's smile became warmer, more genuine. "The same guarantee you have always had, Commander. Our word. The difference is that now you know what that word is worth." The aliens were silent, thinking. They had spent 3 years believing humans were weak and trustworthy. Now they knew humans were strong and trustworthy. The question was whether they could accept being equals with a species they had treated as children. "We need time to consider," said Prime Tide Keshara. "You have 6 hours," Jake replied. "Then we need to begin preparations for the defense of your worlds. The criminals will not wait for your pride to catch up with reality." Jake turned and walked toward the door, followed by Lisa and Ryan. At the threshold, he paused and looked. Back at the stunned Council members. 6 hours, he repeated. "Choose wisely." 6 hours passed like minutes for the Council members. They argued, they debated, they consulted with their homeworlds. Some wanted to reject the human proposal out of pride. Others wanted to accept it out of fear. All of them knew that their decision would change the galaxy forever. Jake Collins sat in the human quarters on Nexus Prime. He was reading reports from Captain Martinez and the other ship commanders. The rescued hostages were safe and healthy. The pirates were in custody and talking about the criminal network. The information they provided made the threat even worse than humans had thought. Lisa Warren was analyzing the criminal communications they had intercepted. The Great Harvest was not just an attack. It was a complete takeover plan. The criminals wanted to replace the Council with their own government. They would turn the galaxy into a place where only the strong survived and the weak became slaves. Ryan Bell was coordinating with human military commanders across known space. Ships were moving into position around Council worlds. Weapons were being prepared. Soldiers were getting ready for the biggest fight in galactic history. A soft chime indicated someone was at the door. Jake opened it to find Primetide Keshara in a mobile water suit. She had never left her tank to visit another species before. "Ambassador Collins," she said, her voice sounding different through the suit speakers. "May I speak with you privately?" Jake led her into the room. Lisa and Ryan stepped outside to give them space. "The Depth Lords have made their decision," Keshara said. "We choose partnership," Jake nodded. "And the others?" "The Hive Mind has also agreed. The crystal beings are in favor. The smaller species are willing to follow our lead." She paused. Only the Veltar Empire remains undecided. "Zethkri is a proud warrior," Jake said. "This is hard for him. Is it true that humans could protect themselves while letting the rest of us fall?" Keshara asked. Jake was quiet for a moment. "Yes, our worlds are well defended. Our technology is advanced enough to keep us safe. We could build a wall around human space and let the galaxy burn. But you will not do that." "No," Jake said. "We will not. Despite everything, we still believe that cooperation is better than isolation. We still think the galaxy is worth saving." Keshar made a sound that might have been relief. "The others fear that once the criminals are defeated, humans will become the new tyrants." "Then they do not understand us at all," Jake replied. "We have never wanted to rule anyone. We just want to be treated with respect." A communication device beeped. Jake activated it to see Zethkri S image appear in the air. Ambassador Collins, the Veltar commander said. His scales were a neutral green, which meant he had reached a decision. The Veltar Empire accepts your proposal. We will work together as equals. Jake felt relief flow through him. Thank you, Commander. I know this was not easy for you. It was the hardest decision I have ever made, Zethkri admitted. But my military advisors have shown me the numbers. Without human help, we cannot win this war. Then let us begin, Jake said. Ryan, please join us. Ryan Bell entered the room and activated a holographic display. It showed the current positions of criminal fleets and council defenses. The enemy will reach the outer council worlds in 18 days, Ryan said. We need to coordinate our response immediately. Over the next hour, they planned the defense of the galaxy. Human ships would work alongside council fleets. Human technology would be shared with council forces. Human tactics would be taught to council soldiers. For the first time in 3 years, humans and aliens were working together as true partners. There is one more thing, Jake said as the meeting ended. The hostages from Kepler 442b will be returned tomorrow. But I want the criminals to be tried by a joint tribunal, not just council courts. Why? Asked Zethkri. Because the crimes were committed against all our species, Jake replied. Justice should be decided by all our species working together. The others agreed. It was a small step, but it showed that the new partnership was real. 3 weeks later, the criminal fleets arrived at the edge of council space. They expected to find scattered, frightened defenders using old weapons and poor tactics. Instead, they found a united force using the best technology and strategies from all species. The battle lasted 6 days. The criminals fought hard, but they were not prepared for what they faced. Human stealth ships struck from the shadows. Veltar heavy cruisers provided devastating firepower. Hive mind swarm tactics confused enemy formations. Depth Lord submarines attacked from unexpected angles. When it was over, the criminal network was destroyed. Some pirates escaped to the far edges of the galaxy, but their organization was broken. The Great Harvest had become the Great Defeat. Jake Collins stood in the council chamber once again. But this time, the human seats were not in the back of the room. They were arranged in a circle with all the other species. All members were equal now. The new trade agreements are ready for signing, Jake announced. Fair terms for everyone, based on what each species can contribute. The documents were different from anything the council had used before. Instead of giving advantages to older, stronger species, they rewarded cooperation and innovation. Humans would get fair access to mining rights and shipping routes. In return, they would share their military technology and tactical knowledge. There is one more change we need to discuss, said Prime Tide Keshara. The council needs a new name. We are no longer the same organization we were before. The Galactic Alliance, suggested one of the crystal beings. The United Species, offered the hive mind. Jake smiled. I like the sound of that. The United Species. Partners working together for the good of all. Zethkri stood up. His scales were bright gold, a sign of happiness and respect. I propose that Ambassador Collins serve as the first chairman of the United Species. The vote was unanimous. Later, that day, Jake sat in his new office. It was much larger than his old quarters, with windows that looked out at the stars. Lisa and Ryan were with him, planning for the future. Do you think it will work? Lisa asked. This alliance between species that have never trusted each other? It will work because it has to, Jake replied. The galaxy is a dangerous place. We are stronger together than we are apart. Ryan was reading reports from human colonies. Captain Martinez sends her congratulations. The fleet commanders are pleased with the new arrangements. And the aliens? Jake asked. They are learning. Ryan said with a small smile. Slowly, but they are learning. Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were patrolling alongside alien vessels. Former enemies were becoming friends. Species that had never spoken to each other were sharing knowledge and resources. It was not perfect. There would be problems and disagreements. Some species would always be suspicious of others. Some individuals would cling to old prejudices. But it was a beginning. And beginnings were what humans did best. 3 years ago, humanity had joined the Galactic Council as junior members. They had been treated as children, dismissed as unimportant, given the worst deals in every negotiation. Now they were partners in something new, something better, something worth fighting for. Jake Collins adjusted his tie and smiled. It was his diplomatic smile, but now it meant something different. It was the smile of someone who had helped change the galaxy for the better. The moment the Council saw humanity's polite facade fall, away had been the moment everything changed. And change, Jake knew, was the most human thing of all.